Welcome to the Mac Power Users. I'm David Sparks, and joined as always by our intrepid shortcuts master, Mr. Stephen Robles. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, David, how's it going with you?
Good. Good. You been wrangling any shortcuts this week?
Always describing shortcuts, building them. We might get into it in this episode as well as we talk to our special guest.
Yeah, our special guest today is one of my favorite Mac Power Users guests, and I don't say that to everyone. Ian Byrd is welcome back to the show. Ian.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's
Yeah.
always an honor.
Yeah. Ian, for folks who don't know him, is a teacher of teachers. When you and I first met, you had been teaching gifted children, and then you kind of got into the business of teaching teachers of gifted children. You did a lot of speaking, did a lot of travel, and
Yeah.
you've really built a content creation business for teachers over the years. And the thing I love about Ian is how thoughtful he is about that business. Now, you may be checking in and saying, well, I don't teach teachers. I don't have anything here. Ian has so many great ideas, gang, on how to use your Apple hardware to get your work done. I just really look forward to your show. So thanks, Ian, for coming back.
All right. Thank you.
I was reading up on Ian. You play bass, is that correct?
Yeah, I play bass and guitar.
Come on,
I,
somebody. All right. And you were
I
in a
got-
band, maybe?
I'm on Spotify.
Oh.
I put an album up there last year. Yeah.
You did.
Just
That's
me. Yeah.
neat.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I think we got to put an MPU band together at some point. I mean, we got some real talented musicians.
Jim, come on, play saxophone.
Oh yeah,
Do
yeah,
trumpet. We could do all of it. You'll play sax. All of it.
yeah. I could play piano too if we needed. We needed a keyboard player. I could do that.
Okay.
But,
Well, there you go. There you go.
yeah.
Steven, do you play anything?
I do. Well, I actually have a music degree, believe it or not,
Oh.
and so that was my life before tech and all that.
Yeah.
And so I play trumpet and I sing a little bit here
Oh.
and there. I've sang on the show actually. I sang a show tune a few weeks ago.
Yeah, you did. That's not my ringtone for you, Steven.
Oh, wonderful! I'll set up a shortcut so whenever you plug in your phone to charge, it just plays my voice singing.
That'd be great. That'd be
You do
great.
that automation.
Just
That's
serenade me. Ian, I just got to know if you're playing the bass, you got the Seinfeld like slap thing down. You got
I
that
can.
right.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You have to learn that because
Yeah.
everybody asks about that one.
It's mandatory.
Side note, I will say I've been seeing on Reels this guy is remaking or pretending to make Seinfeld episodes, but in modern times.
Okay.
And he has bits on like, I'm dating this girl, Jerry, but she wants my Find My location. She wants to share location. And it is hilarious. And so I just want to say there's a modern Seinfeld out there on Instagram, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I know. My kids and I were talking about how, like, every sitcom of the 70s and 80s, the plot of every sitcom of the 70s and 80s is solved by the existence of the cell phone.
It is true. It is true. A lot of scary movies, too. A lot of scary movies. You just text somebody to warn them like it would be over.
Don't go in. Don't go in the house.
Don't go outside. Don't go in. So, Ian, I was reading up on Bird Seed and
Yes.
Bird Seed TV. Tell me a little bit. So you make videos. You made, thousands of videos, I think, by this point. Tell me a little bit about that business. Like, what is it about?
So my degree's in computer science, and then I never really had a computer science job, and I went and got a teaching credential. My whole family's teachers, so it's just like inevitable. And then I got hired in the same school district I grew up in the gifted and talented program that I grew up in, and I taught sixth grade. And so while I was teaching, I had always been, this is like mid 2000 era. So I had dreamed of being a blogger. So after a year or two of teaching, I started like writing about, what I was doing in the classroom. And it just like took off. Like people, Twitter was very different back then, and you could like find the community and people found me and find the like niche. And so just within like a couple years, I started getting offers to come like Keynote, gifted and talented teaching events. Like not every state, but most states have like an annual event. So I started going to do that, and then it just kind of got too much to do the teaching, and I was getting hired to like lead workshops. And so I made the leap to leave teaching, and was able to just like get enough of these gigs to go fly out and work with teachers. And I started flying. I was flying like 100,000 miles a year at one point, speaking like all year long. And so I started to burn out from all of that. As soon as I quit teaching, I started this TV version of the blog, and I had this idea of putting videos on, and it was completely wrong what I first started with, because I thought, oh, I'll just take the workshops I lead, and I'll just do like smaller versions of that, and people can subscribe and watch me like lecture them basically. And so that was like very mildly successful. And then I had this like epiphany that like what teachers really need is not me like telling them what to do, but they just need stuff that's already done for them. So I started taking those like workshops and turning them into actual lessons that teachers could just play for their students. Because a big problem like I had, and like most teachers have, is you always have students who already know what you're teaching, or they get it like right away. And then you either have them sitting through something that's, they already know, or you have to like run a second group or a third group in the classroom, and that gets complicated. So my idea was this could be something that you could send those students over to like a computer, and then you could watch me and I kind of lead the lesson. And so the big idea I had was I would break each video into these short, like 3 or 4 parts. And each part, it's only like 90 seconds or 2 minutes long. And it's like just long enough for me to explain what we're doing. And I always model a sample, and then I turn it over. And so then the students are working. And that was much more popular than just watching me lecture, like lead a workshop. So that just started to take off. And then around 2018, I had a kid, and I was like, I think I'm going to stop doing the speaking. I'm pretty burnt out, and I don't want to be away. And so by 2019, I had made the next leap in my career, which was to leave the speaking career behind and just go all in on the online membership. And so that was November 2019 was my last speaking kick.
You kind of timed that perfectly inadvertently.
And yeah, it was, I don't know what we would have done for income. And then I happened to have this video library I had been like working on for years, and it was really at a point where I was like happy with it. I think I was kind of embarrassed by it at first, but as COVID came around, I was at a point where I felt like I could really tell teachers about it. And so yeah, that's exactly what people were looking for. And so that was a big boost. And I kept thinking, this is temporary, once everybody's back at school, it'll go back to how it used to be. But it's grown every year. And I was able to hire my first employee who does all my graphic design stuff. And so it kind of keeps growing, and I keep adding lessons to it and trying to fill all the holes in now. But yeah, my main customer is really districts. And then I also have like self-serve individual teachers. So yeah.
Well, as your friend Ian, I watched you grow this over the years, and like I remember when you talked to me about getting out of speaking, and with the imminent birth of your son, and man, it just couldn't have gone better for you. I'm so happy for what you've done, but this wasn't just you being in the right place at the right time. You are so thoughtful about the way you do this and the way you set the system up, and that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to digging into today.
Cool. Yeah.
What is your gear these days, Ian?
So my main computer is a Mac Studio. It's the original Mac Studio, the M1. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was waiting for like a Mac Mini Pro, like the first wave of Apple Silicon computers.
Yeah.
I bought one of the laptops, and it was like life-changing, like moving from my Intel. Like I was ready to leave the Mac. I was so frustrated with my last Intel laptop. And we had bought a house for the first time. And so I had like space to set up a real workspace. And so I was like, I want to get a desktop and not have to unplug and do all that. Yeah, so I was like waiting for a better Mac Mini, and then instead of that, they announced a Mac Studio. And I was like, this seems too much for me, but I guess they're not going to do, the big Mac Mini.
Which they've subsequently done, kind of. Really.
I know, and I'm like, but now I can't lose all these ports.
Yeah.
Same. And
like
David's got a CalDigit dock with like 100,000 ports, but I'm still
There's
holding
a way
strong on the
around
studio.
it. Yeah,
I know,
and it's a space heater too.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm always, I don't know about you, Ian, but I'm always like minimal points of failure, and so like I want my audio interface directly in my Mac.
Yeah.
In the back, you know what I mean, in my video switcher and everything. So that's why I'm still on the desktop train.
Yeah. So this thing's held up. I always look at when the new one comes out, but I mean, I don't do anything super intensive. Like my videos are not. I don't film myself. It's more like a slideshow where I'm using Keynote.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they're 4K now. I think I still do 1080p. So it's, at some point I think I will wish I had a bigger hard drive in it. But this thing's been great. It's super stable.
How big did you get? Because I don't know if you heard, but they're a little expensive now.
Oh, I know. It's just the base model. I think I upgraded the storage like one notch up.
Okay, yeah.
But I love having the desktop and not having. The laptop would always do weird things with the Windows, unplugging and plugging it back in. So I like the desktop. I got a studio display last year, so I always felt like they were too expensive, and there's all these so many more flexible options. And then I went to the Apple store, and I was like, it looks so good.
Yeah,
it looks nice.
And then the matte screen is what sold me.
Yeah.
So you're a nano texture guy, okay.
Yeah, and so now I'm in this this room has windows everywhere, and so it works really nicely. So I like the Mac Studio or the Studio display.
Yeah. I'm curious too. You just said 1080p, and we'll get to more of your tech stack. But as a YouTuber myself, I do everything in 4K, and I have to say I'm envious because it's way more storage, way more processing time. The cost of 1080p to 4K. But in your industry, like what you're doing, I don't imagine there's a bunch of students watching your videos that would even have a 4K display or be able to watch it in that way. So do you ever get someone asking for high resolution, or is it like a non-issue for the kind of stuff you make?
No, I've never had anybody ask for 4K. And like I said, I'm not doing things that it doesn't have a lot of detail. It's a lot of showing a digital worksheet and filling it in, and showing pictures here and there. But whenever I have thought, because I did upgrade from 720 to 1080 at one point.
Okay. Right.
But the jump, everything just gets so much bigger.
Oh, I know.
And I don't feel like the value is there.
And also, I would imagine a lot of these school districts don't have the world's greatest Wi-Fi. And if this stuff is streaming over a network and you put it in 4K, you may actually have streaming problems in the classroom. So you don't want to go to 4K.
Yeah, I use Wistia for hosting the videos. So I think they handle all that. So I don't know if they downgrade resolution based on the network.
I was going to ask you too, because I've had to deal with commercial video here and there, and always looked at what were the providers. If you needed security type controls on your video, and Vimeo was an option for a while, but it's still nowhere near as powerful as Wistia. And so I'm just curious. I mean, I'm sure you look at this landscape. Is Wistia still the go-to for this kind of video delivery with the security protections and all of that?
I mean, I think it is. There's no way I'm going to move video providers at this point. That would be quite an undertaking. I think unless you want to roll your own thing, and I know some people do that, and they can do it for way cheaper, but they offer so many. They had auto transcription years and years and years ago.
Right.
And that's just built in, and you can unlike YouTube, you can switch out a new video and it doesn't change the URL.
Right.
So as I go back and kind of redo older videos, it all keeps working. They even have sometimes people will ask for Spanish versions of the videos.
Yeah.
And that's something they offer. You can pay to have everything translated.
Okay.
So they just have so many little things built in, and I was on this cheap plan for so long, and then eventually I think I was paying like $59 a month.
That's
And
cheap
then-
for Wistia, if people don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
It was a very old plan, and so now they like found me, and I'm no longer paying $59.
I was going to say, yeah.
But it's still, when I think about how much it would cost me to build out my own solution, I'm kind of stuck there.
And it's also like costs are so relative. Like when I think about
It is,
like
yeah.
when I was practicing law, how much money I paid every month for my Westlaw subscription. It's like $59 doesn't even like put a dent in it, So
what is that?
it's like a research system, online
okay, yeah.
research, case database, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like this stuff is, it's better now than it used to be, even on the expensive end of $59.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hired an employee a couple years ago, and now that's totally changed how I view any of these like tech services
Yeah,
in terms
right?
of cost.
It's like
where
1
it's
hour.
like,
Yeah.
oh, this is nothing compared to a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do when I'm doing the video, like editing the final drafts and stuff. I'm doing it on the Mac Studio, in Descript, and then I also have an M2 MacBook Air that doesn't get a ton of use now, but I use that for recording music mostly.
Yeah.
But if I need to use a computer on the go, but mostly if I'm not using the Mac Studio, I'm using an iPad Pro, and I've really been happy with that. I think it's the previous generation that's got the matte screen, which was a lot more expensive to upgrade to than like the
Yes.
monitor was, but I love it. Yeah.
I think, one of my favorite moments in the history of the show was we had you on because you are a guy who gets a lot out of the iPad. And I'm always interested in talking to, iPad warriors. And one of the statements you made years ago on the show that I still think about is you said you bought the iPad kind of as a constraint. And you realized that if there was something that was too difficult to do on the iPad, it's probably something that it wasn't economical for you to be doing anyway, that you should be looking for people to help you with that stuff. And I just think that was so insightful.
Yeah. So there's this book called The E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah.
That's this like classic business book. The E doesn't stand for electronic. Like it's like predates the idea of E being electronic. It's like entrepreneur myth.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird book, but it's got this like one nugget that I've always kind of come back to, which is that if you're running a small business, and especially if it's like just you, that you really have to be aware of balancing these like different jobs within your job, where your natural thing is to be what he calls like the craftsperson, where you're like doing the task, that you enjoy doing and wanted to turn into a career.
Yeah.
He's got this bakery thing, and the woman likes to bake pies. Yeah. But if you only bake pies, the business is not going to be successful. Yeah. So you have to be able to go from the craftsperson to he has like a visionary role where you really step back and like plot out what is the business's big goal, what are we striving for, and then like a manager role where you're kind of the go-between between the big goal and then the person doing the work. So I always thought the iPad is great because I have a hard time thinking when I'm at the big computer. Mm-hmm. It's just like so easy to start making things.
Yeah.
And it's fun to make things because I'm like the craftsperson by nature. So the iPad I always felt was, at first I tried to do the thing where it's like, I'm going to make this be a Mac. And it just doesn't work. Even today, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Realizing that, hey, this thing's really good for like reading on. And then once the Apple Pencil came out, having that like much slower input of like drawing and, writing by hand, that became this really, for me, it became a great tool for the visionary work. And David, you and I have talked about going on retreats, and like just taking an iPad and getting away from the usual, day-to-day stuff for a few days and just like planning what's the next quarter of the year going to be like. And so the iPad has always been great for that. But I've always struggled with that manager like level.
I think management is really hard at the station you do creative work at. I have the same experience. Like, I've got this great video set up here. I make videos all day long. I can't sit here and do manager work because the camera's right there, and all I have to do is push a button and I can make something new. And that is really hard for me. I have to get away from it.
So I totally identify with that, Ian, because I like going out on my patio with my iPad Pro and Magic Keyboard if I have to do administrative work or creative work, which is kind of a weird thing. But like if I'm going to build shortcuts and I need to like troubleshoot or problem solve or get inspired, like I do that on my iPad. But I'm curious with your workflow, you mentioned Keynote, you mentioned your iPad with Apple Pencil. Like what kind of work do you do on the iPad specifically? And like, where does your video go from there? Are you starting on your iPad? Is it brainstorming? And then are you starting a Keynote on there? Like what's that process?
So my process has always been to like start with the script and to get the script down first. So it's usually like an outline that I start with. And like I said, most videos are like 3 parts. And at each part, the student is like doing something that's at a higher level of thinking. So I would usually map that out in an outline and then start to write the script. And so writing the script is something I could do on an iPad. But I would still find it frustrating because I felt like just typing sometimes isn't as nice. Like the app, I would type into Notion, and Notion, I just felt like it didn't feel nice.
Step one, spoiler. Maybe try a different app to write in. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but like I would run into these things where the iPad didn't feel as nice. But yeah, so I could write on there, and then I've never been able to use Keynote on the iPad because I have so many like Keyboard Maestro tools, and sometimes I don't even know where the tool is. Like I feel like I've reached an age where I don't remember how my computer works, and I'm the one who set it up.
You type a shortcut and things happen, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah, well, I've got the 2 Stream Decks here, and sometimes I have to like look. I'm like, what is this even doing? And like kind of. Well, a lot of this surfaced because of the new version of Keynote they released that has like a different name under the hood.
Yeah. Did it break stuff that you had automated?
It broke everything.
Oh, no.
All my Keyboard Maestro stuff was looking for the old app's name.
Yeah.
And so I'm still running into things where and it's not easy to go and just change it all at once. Like I have to find each, whatever that little block is where it looks for that. It's usually the ones where it pulls down menu items and picks something. So I've never been able to use Keynote on the iPad because I don't have any of that.
So are you like just
power?
Is it a bunch of keyboard shortcuts that you have programmed on your Stream Deck that's then doing menu items in Keynote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I found, and I don't know, maybe Keynote has added all this stuff, but there were a lot of things like center a bunch of items.
Yeah. Inserting certain things. And
a lot of like formatting, flip something horizontally. There wasn't a keyboard shortcut. So it was just stuff like that, and it took me years to like build up all these little tools. But then if I push the button and it doesn't do it, I'm like, what happened? Right. So that's been something I've had to do recently is like dig through and figure out where did I make this little thing? So,
Going back to that statement you made about, well, if I can't do it on the iPad, I should hire someone. But the obvious problem with that was you and I have small businesses where we don't have unlimited funds.
Yeah.
But something has changed since the last time you were on the show where there's some technology now that allows you to automate things without a human.
Yeah.
What are you doing with AI?
Yeah. So part of it has been like doing little coding projects. So like I said, my degree's in computer science, but I haven't kept up with it, and I'm not a great coder, like I can do little things, but anything that involves like the money system of the business, like I'm too scared to touch it. But using Claude Code and Codex and some of these tools, it's just really enabled me to like fix some things behind the scenes with the business that that have just always bothered me. So one of the things that maybe a more typical use of the AI has just been building these personal little tools. Like we have our own invoicing tool now that I built, and it integrates perfectly into like all of our systems. And I have a contractor who handles our purchase orders and stuff like that, and it's just like saving her so much time. And all that stuff I can do from the iPad instead of having to be at the Mac Studio, because I'm not really doing like all the coding.
Yeah. I remember when the original Apple II came out, or maybe it was, I think it was the Apple I and the Apple II. Steve Wozniak was quoted. They said, "Well, how come you don't have any software for it?" The Apple II came out, there wasn't much software, and he says, "Well, people will just buy it and write their own software." I mean, that was because his mindset, that of course being Woz, right? And I always thought that was so silly, but it feels
it's very
to me,
innocent.
But now, because I'm teaching a course on AI and robot assistants, and there are a lot of people that are just making their own, whatever their productivity, billing, whatever thing it is that they need, they can't find the right one. They're spinning it up themselves now. I mean, we're actually now in an era where that is a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's helpful having the technical background, and I mean, I find that's kind of knowing what to look for, because it's constantly doing things wrong, so it's not, I do think of it a lot as being like an employee, where I have to check the work and I can't trust it to do everything perfectly or even like in the right direction sometime.
I'm curious because you talked about scripting being, that first thing you do. That's how every video starts. Yeah. And I know for me as a video creator, I try to be very specific on if I'm going to use AI assistance in something, like these are my creative moments where I want to have more influence than the AI. So do you use any AI tools in that early process of the scripting or ideas, or where do you insert it in that process?
So there's the coding side, but then I've really found it to be useful as like a creative partner in doing. I know David used the term donkey work, and like just doing a lot of manual labor. And then on the creative side, like a big thing is just like brainstorming, and like come up with like 20 variations on this idea, and one of them will be like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and then using that, as a jumping off point. For me, one of the things that it's allowing me to do is kind of turn my library from, it's been something where I've just added like ideas as they've come. So the lessons don't really have a scope and sequence, which is fine for some teachers. It like fits what their role is, but other teachers need something that's like, this is for third grade, whereas this is for fourth grade. And so that's something I've been doing the last few months, is like going through and finding where do we have a lesson that we could actually kind of break out into like 3 variants of that lesson, and then each one is kind of matching that grade's specific standard. And so it's been really helpful in that sense of like kind of filling in all these holes and giving me a starting point for where I can kind of see how we can layer up as the students get older, but without having to build a completely new idea.
Another thing I find with Mac Sparky Labs, I've got like 300 plus videos I've made over the years, and I find that the AI is good to look for holes in the library. I say, well, what's topics that I've failed to cover, and that's like that kind of stuff. I think it can be really useful for.
Well, I will do things where I'll produce a whole lesson and then I go to add it into Word. The whole thing is a WordPress site. And then I realized I've already done this lesson like 7 years ago, and it's basic. There's like no reason. They're like 10% different,
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't store the whole library in my brain anymore of
Yeah.
like all the lessons that I have.
Have you
And so,
have
yeah.
you given an AI because you have a huge backlog library of videos? Have you
Yeah.
given AI just your whole library this way you can ask questions about it, or have you
Yeah.
resisted training something on that library?
I haven't like trained it on the library, but it has access because we have transcripts of all the videos.
Okay.
So I can like just yesterday I was like, what is different about these two lessons that we have? And it can go look at the transcripts and like tell me. So yeah, there's just so much of that kind of things where it's almost like there's just all this manual work I would have had to do before to figure that out. And yeah, so it can go through. I've tried to get it to write like me, but it always goes back to its goofy little patterns that it uses. Like no matter how much I try to tell it to stop doing that.
Yeah, it refuses.
It's sometimes it's so confusing. I find myself just saying, could you just say that like simply?
Can you be a normal person, please? And then you remember.
Like this isn't a creative writing contest. Like just say it plain. You
Also,
are a robot.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy the writing process so much. I just don't really want to hand it off. But there's so many pieces of this. Now, one of the things you're doing I wanted to talk about today is remote access. So you're a guy who's working off your iPad a lot, and then you've got the AI running back on your Mac or wherever. And like, how are you making them work together?
So initially I was running Claude Code on my Mac Studio. And I was like really happy to have the desktop because I could get into it from the iPad or my laptop and all that.
Well, what technology were you using for that, by the way?
So Tailscale is like the tool that kind of connects everything.
Yeah.
I do not know what it does, or it's free.
Yeah.
I have like 7 things connected to it, and it's all still free. But yeah, it basically just spins up what feels like a local network.
Yeah.
And every computer has its own. You can name everything nicely, and then you can just get in. You can access it just like it's like a network at your house. And then
I was at Disneyland last weekend, and I was running my Mac at home through my iPad using Tailscale. It's it's not,
and it's got that tail drop, so it's kind of like AirDrop, but you can send a file from one place to another. So that kind of holds everything together. And then I just work in like a terminal into the Claude Code CLI.
Yeah.
I know that their like actual apps have changed a lot, but again, it's like one of those things where I tried that at first and I didn't really like it, and now I'm used to doing just the plain terminal.
Sure. Well, you're a computer science degree major, right?
Right.
You're not afraid of the terminal. Yeah.
I'm not afraid of it. It looks cool. It looks like I'm hacking
really
into
doing
something.
work.
I'm in
Yeah,
the
it
Matrix. Yeah. So I had it on the Mac Studio, and I had this thought that I should move it to a VPN in case the Mac crashes or something. I'm on a trip or something. And then we had a blackout that lasted, like almost a whole day. And I have my iPad, and it's got the cell connection, and it's got the battery, and I'm like, I can't get to Claude. He's dead on the Mac Studio.
Out of power. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, why? I was like, why didn't I do it and put it on the VPN? So once we got through the blackout, it took like half a day or so, and I set up it's a Linux machine running Ubuntu, and I just like moved all the AI tooling onto that VPN. And then, with Tailscale, it's just, it doesn't feel any different than when I was using the
Is
Mac
that a physical
Studio.
box that you have somewhere? The Linux
No,
machine?
it's through Linode.
Oh, okay. So it's, gotcha.
Yeah. And I went too small the first time, and so I had to upgrade the box, but that's easy to do through them. So I have that. And then, yeah, through Tailscale, it's still easy to like send it a file or have it drop a file to me on any of my devices.
Yeah, another way you could do that is like Mac Mini Colo. There's a lot of different ways if you don't want to go the Linux route, but having a remote computer, and frankly, the way you started for a lot of people is plenty. Just have a Mac somewhere that's always on, and ready for a connection.
Yeah, I mean, running the Mac Studio just at home would have been fine. I mean, if it wasn't like my whole business is kind of running off of it now, and then we're in Hawaii and the power can kind of come and go.
I'm going through that right now because I bought a new laptop and I still have my M2 Mac Studio here. And, because of the amount of storage on it and stuff, it's really probably worth keeping just because it'd be more expensive to buy that much storage in this weird world we live in. But it's like I'm really going back and forth. Do I really want to set it up as like a mission control that I can tunnel into, or is it just like an accessory machine? But there's so many people I've talked to like you who are running their AI at least their frontier model AI stuff, because this Mac Studio is not great at running local AI, but it could run Cowork or OpenAI or whatever, no problem. And I just haven't decided yet, but that's something that's very much on my mind right now. So
and it's nice. It's nice just to have that machine doing that, and then if I switch the Mac out, I don't have to change that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Ian. So in addition to AI tools you use in this workflow, your videos, you talk about Keynote. What is your process like? Real quick, connect all the dots for me. So you got the script, you make the Keynote. What do you record that stuff in? Like, what are you recording? Where? And then where do you edit it? And where does it go from there?
So, I mean, I started with what was it, like a screen recording app?
ScreenFlow, probably.
It was ScreenFlow, way back in the day.
Yeah.
And then when Descript came out, it like totally fit like exactly how I make my videos, because they're mostly Keynote slides that I'm kind of lining up with narration. So I'll record the narration into the app. So I do it into Descript now, and Descript, transcribes it. And you can edit the text instead of having to edit the audio, and it's such a time saver. But the thing that was awesome for how I do it is I can just copy a Keynote slide, and then like in the Mac, it kind of turns it into just like a JPEG when you copy a slide, and then I can select the text and just paste it into Descript, and then like that slide will line up with that text.
Oh, okay.
So I could assemble a video like so much faster just by doing this, like kind of build it in Keynote and then copy and paste it in. And I rarely use animation, like, because I'm mostly showing students how, like, an example of how to do a task. So it's a lot of just like text appearing. Gotcha. And then sometimes I have to scroll the worksheet. And so then I would export a magic move from Keynote.
Yeah. You're hacking Keynote to be an animation software. I like it.
That's common though. I mean, because I used to animate water intrusion for jury trials with Keynote magic move. I mean, it's just...
It's amazing. I mean, I had friends that would use Keynote as like their graphic design tool, because like it's pretty powerful. Just like you work with layers, you got all these tools there.
Yeah. If you go way back in the Mac Power Users catalog, like probably in the first 100 episodes, we actually did an episode of how all the things you can do with Keynote that are not presentations.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I used Keynote so much to build all those presentations I was giving. So I had all these shortcuts built out, so I'm like very fluent in Keynote. And if I go to use Photoshop or any of those tools, there's like way too many options. So I've always appreciated Keynote's like limitations.
As a pro Keynote user too, I'm just curious, when it upgraded to Creator Studio, did any of the new features provide any benefit at all to your workflow?
I don't even know what the new features are.
Okay, just curious.
I don't think I've used anything. Yeah, it moved some things around. I feel like I've become an old man where I'm like, why did my Keynote change?
Moved my cheese. Yeah.
Yeah. But the video creation now, I can use the AI tools basically to make like a rough draft of a video. So I can create the script, and then so I don't know this tooling, but it uses Remotion, which is like a React tool. So it's like using like JavaScript, to move things around and then rendering it out as like an MP4 file. And then we write the script, and then I use 11 Labs where I uploaded just like 2 hours worth of videos, and it pulled the audio out and synthesized this like weirdly accurate voice of mine. And so it takes the script and it sends that to 11 Labs and pulls that back down, and then it will like line up, like the filling out the text in these worksheets. It lines it up with me saying those lines, and then it like gives me a video that's it like saves so much time. It's almost like a temp track, where I can put that into Descript and then start. A lot of it I have to re-record the narration because it sounds like me, but the inflection are just kind of weird, and sometimes it'll say a word in the most random way. So I go through and kind of, a lot of times I end up redoing the whole audio. But a lot of the video I can keep because it's just filling in that worksheet, and I'll add some of my own things from Keynote in. But that has really, having that starting point has really accelerated how quickly I can add content to the site.
And for the Remotion, are you using that through Claude or some AI, or are you like,
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was like, do we need to add like cues or something into the script? But it's just like reading the script, and then it's able to like figure out like which worksheet we're filling out and where it's going. And a lot of this has been iterating over time, where at first it was totally wrong, and we just built out rules, and it's the videos follow very similar frameworks. So it's kind of amazing how close it can get to what I want, and it's using some tool on the back end that I personally have no idea how to use.
That's wild. And you find Remotion, because I've tried some AI tools just as experiment to see like, can I give it an idea and it just make a script and a reel, like a vertical 60-second video that you could post on social media. Because you see so many of these videos on social media that are like, obviously AI generated, obviously it's an AI voice. And I was curious, like, is there a tool that can actually do it? Do you find that Remotion is good enough where, not for your use cases, but if someone was using it for like a social media clip type thing, like, is it good enough, the video quality for that?
So what it does is it makes like an HTML page and then animates it. So I don't think you can do something like generate a person walking through a field.
No, but illustration animations?
I don't think it can.
Okay, I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check it out because I'm wondering just like a map animation. You know what I mean? Like I'm like an Indiana Jones style.
Yeah, I think you would have to give it the map. I don't know that it can because one of the videos started with like talking about systems, and I was using a bike as an example of a system, and then we moved into like how a story is a system. And so I was saying how you can remove the bell and the system still works, but you can't remove the chain or the bike won't work.
Gotcha.
And it made the saddest looking bicycle. I didn't tell it to do it because I'm like, I'm just going to go grab an image of a bike from, some image library. And so it's reading the script and like trying to add everything in for me.
Yeah.
And it just made it out of like sticks, and it looked like a bike, but
sure.
It was I was like,
horrifying
I was like, you just have to worry about the worksheets. Let me handle all the other stuff.
I think I call it dragons in execution, but as you use AI, you get to a point where you get confident and it does some things for you, and you start to give it more authority or more tasks than it's really actually good at. And I think it's an easy trap to fall in. And like, at least maybe right now, and things are always in motion, but I feel like right now is a very good sweet spot of, yeah, it can do the donkey work. It can check the script. It can pull slides. It can do all that stuff. But really, you need to be the person doing the recording. You need to be, the human needs to be in control of the creative process. And I'm actually kind of okay with that. In fact, I'm more than okay with that, you know?
I feel like it empowers me to just be able to finish a lot more that I wouldn't have been able to accomplish on my own.
I also think that if you're smart about it, it frees you up to do more creative work. You know, I think that's the real approach people need to take towards this is like, what is the donkey work I can get rid of? And if I have that extra time, can I do something more creative? Or can I just take a nap? You know, that's good too. But that, you know, don't try to leverage yourself to 3x just because it's doing extra work, and try to hold on to the creative part. Ian, so you've moved. One of the things you do that I'm secretly jealous of is you pick up your family and move every several years to somewhere fun.
Yeah.
You used to live in the city where they filmed The Goonies, which is amazing. And now you're in a place that starts with an H. Was it? Is it Hemet?
It is Hawaii.
Oh yeah, it's Hawaii. Yeah, you live in Hawaii now, and but that has changed your smart home approach. What's up?
Well, we're getting back into the smart home. We bought a house in Astoria, Oregon, on the coast during COVID. It was like the perfect, far away kind of spot.
Yeah.
And then we vacationed in Hawaii during the winter. And my wife was like, we should just live here because, it's like rainy for 9 months in Oregon and you can't really leave the house. And we're all at home. We homeschool our kid. Yeah. I'm at home working, we're all home all day. So we vacationed to Hawaii and we ended up staying like in the condo we were renting for like a month. That complex had a spot open up, and so we ended up selling our house and just like staying in Hawaii. And the condo there was like no need to automate things, like it was so small.
Yeah.
And I think we thought it was pretty temporary. So about a month ago, we moved to the other side of Oahu, to Kailua, and we're renting this really cool house that like happened to open up right when we were looking for a spot. And it's really like, it's big, but not, it's only like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So it's not like a mansion, but there's just a lot of open space. And so now it's like, we're back to where I don't want to have to walk around the house and turn lights on and off because It's like switches everywhere. So we're like getting, we have all the Philips Hue bulbs and stuff that have traveled with us now to 2 different places. So we got the TV light. Hue has this
gradient TV strip.
Yeah, the gradient. That was the first thing we got working again.
I enjoy that.
It's so cool in a dark room to have the TV glowing.
So are you all Hue bulbs kind of guy? Do you do switches too, or?
Yeah, we had. In the old house, we had like everything was Hue bulbs, and then we had a lot of like motion lights. So like the bathroom and the kitchen, things would just turn on when you walked in. But this house is like everything is custom. So there's none of the light fixtures have bulbs. And then everything is on a fader. And there's usually like at least 2 faders in every room. And it's weird.
You're renting it, so you can't start.
We're renting it.
Yeah.
So we can't just take everything out. And so I'm like dying to automate all this stuff. And there's fans. There's like a ceiling fan in every room because, we keep all the windows and stuff open and there's the breeze going through. So people are always leaving the fans on, or you got the fan switch is in a weird place.
But you could switch the switches out, right? Even though you're renting, you just have to put them back at the end.
Yeah, it's so expensive because there's so many switches in this house. So I've been going through the most middle-aged man thing. I have a label maker, and I've been going through and labeling what every fader and switch does because there's like no logical connection to anything. There's like an outlet, like outlet switches. Yeah. But some of them are faders.
Oh my word, yeah.
So I don't know what that even does.
Yeah.
But trying to figure out, just yesterday, we've been here a month, just yesterday I figured out that the switch controls an outlet. because I realized there was no Wi-Fi in this part of the house,
'Cause
and the
somebody turned
Eero was off, and I was like, "What the?" And I realized, oh, this switch turned the Eero, so I put tape on it, and I was like, "Don't touch."
Yeah, that's tough.
So there's all this stuff that we can't use our Hue bulbs for. So I bought my first switch bot.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what this is?
The robot finger?
Yeah.
The robot finger. I was like, this is the answer to some of our problems. And so it was like Prime Day, so they were discounted. So I bought like the hub. So now this is my 17th hub that I have, and a couple of those switches, because I was like, I don't know if these things, I don't want to buy 20 of them yet. And yeah, we tried it. My wife wanted some outdoor lighting on a schedule.
Sure.
And yeah, so it's like a little rectangle. It's smaller than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And it's got some kind of motor in it, and it comes with adhesive on it, and you just peel it off and you stick it on whatever you want to automate, and then it's got like a little finger.
That's it. That's what
People
it
put
is.
those on their coffee makers.
Yeah.
Anything that has a button, and it has an attachment, because we have these like rocker switches. So we had to put another adhesive thing onto the switch, so now the finger can pull it.
Pull it down.
Yeah.
I will say on SwitchBot's website, which I've been very familiar with SwitchBot for a long time, they call them the fingers. So if you go to like household or all their devices, there's finger robots, and there's a SwitchBot original, and then there's the SwitchBot that's actually rechargeable now. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, now but with the hub, because I know SwitchBot has had various hubs over the years, are you able to connect that to Apple Home? Are you just like SwitchBot apping it? Or what are you doing?
So I got the hub because we use Alexa as our like central thing.
Okay.
I think this is another thing where I think I tried Apple's thing and it wasn't any good, and I'm sure it's gotten a lot better.
You need to come back to the light, Ian.
Come back to the light. That's it. Yeah. It's been a long time since you've been.
But I have this story with all kinds of Apple like first party stuff where it was just so missing, missed all these pieces when it first came out, and then I got something else going, and now I don't want to have to switch everything over. But yeah, so it can connect through. So my plan is to use we've got these Philips motion sensors, and then I can use the SwitchBot, to turn like the ceiling fans on and off when people are in the room or not in the room. So that's been we've solved part of our problem.
I will say it seems like the SwitchBot hubs, the newest ones, they do support Matter, so you could put this into Apple Home. I will say a caveat. I've tried to add SwitchBot accessories to Apple Home, and it's a little weird because, Apple Home has limited accessory functions, and so it's basically an on-off switch, but the SwitchBot finger, it's not really on-off, you know what I mean? It depends how you position it on the switch and how you have the thing. So it could get a little weird for people to try it. But if you want a robot finger turning your coffee on in the morning, you can do that.
Yeah.
I actually need one of these because I've got my key light can only be turned on with the physical button press, and if I cut power, it won't. When I return power, I still have to push the button. So I've always thought of SwitchBot as a possible answer, but it's the same thing. It doesn't look to me like it's particularly HomeKit friendly or Apple Home friendly.
Yeah. So right now it's just running in the SwitchBot app. It's just on a timer, but every day. It is delightful that thing pokes that switch. I'm like, it worked. It worked again.
A lot of people really love their curtain openers too. I don't know if you have blinds or curtains, but those are very
saw
popular.
Those. Yeah. Back at our old house, we had roller blinds, and so we bought these like Akara blinds. I think that had to go through Apple Home because I know I used it at some point.
So you said you got outdoor lights? Were those smart lights?
So my wife and I were just talking about this. No, none of the outdoor lights are smart lights. And there are 3 different rooms that have outdoor light switches. So, and like nothing. So this is my label maker. I should put that as one of my like Cool Tools is this label maker. But my wife and I were sleeping like in the first week, and this motion sensor light in the backyard was turning on, and it's like brighter than the sun. And so, it's like midnight, and I'm going through this new house trying to figure out which switch turns on the motion, but it's not obvious if it's on or off because it's a motion sensor.
Yeah.
But we found it in my kid's bedroom on the other side of the house was the switch that turns that. It is like, this could be a YouTube video. Is you could come to this house and try to figure out how to automate everything.
Good try. I'm up for the challenge. I'll automate anything. I'll do it.
Yeah. So the faders, I don't know what we're going to do. I think my wife is going to pull out some of these like custom fixtures and just put a bulb in there.
I can see you doing that. I know your wife. She could do that. Yeah, I do think you should take another look at Apple Home. I recently have been reconverted to it because I kind of had drifted away as well. But I find that it's just so useful for the whole family. If everybody has an iPhone, and with the arrival of Matter, so now most of the hardware works with most of the platforms, so you don't have the limitations you used to.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of surprising to me how easy it is for everybody to be able to access everything if you go into one platform like that.
Yeah. And it might be worth, like, because I kind of have to rip everything out as it is. So yeah, it might be worth rebuilding it.
And there have been, there's multiple options. Like, if there's sliders or dimmers, there's a bunch. Eve has actually a dimmer switch that's like thread matter, doesn't require a hub. If you're good with a hub, I'm all in on Lutron all the time. It's most rock solid. I use their ceiling fan control everywhere around my house. And so that works great for the ceiling fan. And some ceiling fans are a little weird because, some of them are on 2 switches, some of them are on 1 switch.
Yeah.
And so it depends, how that setup is. But Lutron, Eve, and Akara has some dimmer switches now that are less expensive, but even the less expensive ones now will have thread and matter, and that means it'll have pretty solid connectivity. So
Okay.
Stephen, what if people are on Apple Home and they want a SwitchBot like button? Is there another vendor making something that's more Apple Home friendly?
SwitchBot really makes the only robot finger that I know of. Honestly, like
it's a monopoly.
Maybe there's some conspiracy here. They've cornered the market on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the SwitchBot will work with Apple Home if you get the SwitchBot hub with Matter, and I'll put the right hub in the show notes. But it's kind of the only one doing that. And the other way I get around this, like if you have a coffee maker, if this works, or something that plugs in. Like I do use smart plugs in a lot of places for things like my coffee bean grinder, which I've talked about before, where it's a dumb grinder, but I want to make sure it turns off after a certain amount of time of grinding. And I use a smart plug for that. And I set up a shortcut that waits 2 minutes. And then after I turn it on, it turns it off. And so, some devices, if it will work with a plug, like my key light, like yours, David, but I have it on a smart plug, and when it powers back on, it returns to the brightness and temperature that I had set. And it's unfortunate yours does not. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So that's how I get around some of the things that I would use a robot finger, but I try to put a smart plug where I can.
And it takes me all of 5 seconds to reach down and push the button.
But you gotta reach down and push the button.
Let the finger do it for you.
That's right.
Maybe that's it. Maybe SwitchBot bought all of the supply of plastic fingers for the next 5 years, so nobody else can make one.
There you go. Just
on the market.
Yeah, but it's very fun to see that thing turn on. So do you know anything about sliding glass door locks, like smart locks?
Oh my! You might have touched a category I'm not familiar with.
We have no regular doors in this house and 5 sliding glass doors.
That's an interesting question. I do not.
Okay.
This is not going to send me on a tear. I'm curious. Apparently there are some companies that make certain things, but it seems very like model specific. You have to have the perfect sliding door for this.
I have ideas.
Okay.
Robot
fingers?
No, I was just thinking, just spitballing here.
Yeah.
They make, the regular master lock, the deadbolt style lock.
Uh-huh.
What if you just hung one above the sliding glass door right beyond the closure point? So it just dropped the deadbolt down when the doors closed, and that stopped it from opening. Does that make sense?
Oh, like behind?
Yes.
Or maybe mounted it like like facing downwards.
Exactly.
So the deadbolt
Exactly.
goes.
So the deadbolt comes down. You shut the door. The deadbolt comes down behind the door.
Right.
And those you get are a dime a dozen. There's a bunch of people making
Sure.
those. Then if you try to open the door, it's going to hit the deadbolt. It's not going to open.
I like this hacky way you're thinking, David. We should.
That's the kind of stuff I do. It's like if you walk around my house, there's a bunch of stuff like that.
That could work. Yeah.
It's killing me. I haven't had to carry like a house key in so long, and now I have to remember to take a key to lock the house up.
You would have to trust the deadbolt to be able to like stop someone trying to open the door. You know, it has to be able to stop the entire glass door, but maybe it would. Maybe it would.
Yeah, but we like right now we just have a lock that's just like kind of you just put it on the track and kind of screw it into place if you want.
I got something even better, guys. I got something better. Okay,
Right,
stick with me for a minute.
Here we go.
All right. You get a dowel pin, a wooden rod, right?
Yeah.
And you lay it in the track when the door is closed. So now the door is locked.
We have that.
Then you find an automation, something like a SwitchBot curtain opener, and you tie it to the dowel. You drill a hole through the dowel, and you fix it.
Okay.
And the SwitchBot just spools up the wire, and the dowel lifts, and then you can open the door. How's that?
This is very Pee Wee Herman.
I don't know.
Of...
I think I can go further. I don't know.
I remember growing up, we used to have just like the wooden dowel that you just drop in the track to like stop it from opening. And maybe if you get enough robot fingers, they can all lift together, and the wooden dowel lifts high enough so you can open the door.
Or
this
get
is
a
why
dog
you
and
come
teach
on
him
this
how to
podcast.
fetch the dowel.
This is power users to the max, right?
Yeah,
Pro Max users.
We're getting there, guys.
That's it.
Ian, we always like to end up these shows with a few favorite apps and services, things that are bringing you joy and delight these days that a listener may be interested in. What is helping you out these days?
So probably the app I use the most on the Mac is called Trickster, and I trigger it with a shortcut, and it's just a floating window, and it has a list of the most recently accessed or modified files. So like if something gets downloaded, or if I like just worked on something and I want to open it back up again, I can just open Trickster, and it has a list, and you can filter it, and you can do all kinds of stuff that I don't do with it, but I just use it as like, here's the last 10 files that I've been working with, and it saves me so much time.
I will add to that endorsement. I met the developer of Trickster, I don't know, a long time ago. I think it was at Macworld or WWDC, and I started using it after I met him, and it's just such a great little utility. And if you're a SetApp subscriber, you already own it. Just go download it.
Oh.
Now, I've always think that I will eventually have heard of every Mac utility and app, and I don't know if you ever will.
Stay on the Mac power users, man. You will.
This is like an app that I don't know how much it costs, $20 or something, and now if they like took it away, I would pay like $100 to keep it. I don't know if there's a business model like that where you threaten to take it away and then you realize how valuable it is. But it was not an expensive thing, and then I just use it constantly instead of having to go hunt for stuff.
Now, you said you use Keyboard Maestro. Do you use Spotlight or other launchers, or what do you do there?
I have Alfred, which I've just used forever. Yeah. Okay. I've tried to resist changing that because I feel like there's always another option.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't do a lot. I don't have like a lot of custom like workflows using Alfred. I use the clipboard manager in there also. But yeah, that's another one where it's just like, if it's not on the Mac, I'm completely confused. But I'm interested because I've heard that Spotlight has like gained a lot of those kinds of abilities.
Well, and I would say, with macOS 27 and iPadOS 27, if you're on the iPad a lot, Spotlight and Siri AI is one thing. And so we'd be curious, if you start, if you try to start using Spotlight and Siri for some of that general knowledge stuff, or I ask it a bunch of stuff, and Siri AI has actually been pretty good.
Wow. That is exciting. Like, if that works, I would be very excited by that.
You can pull Alfred out of my cold, dead hand.
We still got to do that challenge. I got to do Alfred versus Raycast versus Spotlight.
Yeah, I'm using the new Spotlight, Ian. I guess it depends how much you're using Alfred for, but it's the new Spotlight is not Alfred.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
On your
Yeah.
iPad, though, it sounds like you're on your iPad a good deal. Are there any apps that you use on the iPad that are kind of critical to your workflow, or where?
It's pretty basic. I use Blink is the terminal app that I use,
Okay.
and I use that on the iPhone also, because sometimes I have an idea when I just have the iPhone and I can get onto the VPN through there. So yeah, I use Blink as my terminal on iOS, and then Ghosty on the Mac. But they all have persistent connections, so I can go to any of those devices, and I have my existing like Claude conversation going. I use that. So I use that. Safari is like probably the main thing I use, and then I use Notion in my business. My designer and I use that for like meeting notes and collaborating.
Okay.
You
we've been
have
talking about-
Mike. You have a dictation controller in here that we must talk about.
Oh yeah. So a lot of the coding or like the AI interaction, it's better just to dictate it. But then if I'm at my keyboard, I just start typing, and so I was trying to like not type so much and just use the dictation, which I know you have like always done that, David. And I've never been able to resist just typing. Yeah. Once I realized I can just tell it what to do, and it's actually a lot easier. I started looking for some like Bluetooth, like not a full keyboard, but just a few buttons. And so I tried a couple things that didn't work right. And so I ended up with this tiny game controller from 8-Bit Do.
8-Bit Do. They make
8-Bit Do. So this is the Micro. And it's teeny tiny, and it's like a little Super Nintendo style controller. And so it has enough buttons where, so I have one of the buttons is just like open the microphone, and then one of the buttons is like press enter. But then like the shoulder buttons will switch apps, and so you can, using Better Touch Tool, you can like set up all the buttons to do all sorts of things.
Wait a minute. You have this connected to your Mac via Bluetooth?
Yeah.
And then it's like basically dedicated buttons for dictation or whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of love this idea.
And me too.
I kind of love it. I mean, you would think, my first reaction was like, well, why don't you just have keyboard shortcuts doing this stuff? What's the benefit of having the dedicated device?
Well, you can leave the desk. So part of this was because, David, you had some like clip-on microphone that you were using.
The Hollyland Mark II.
Yeah.
I love my Hollyland Mark II.
That's a great mic.
You put it on your shirt and you can walk around the room and dictate to your computer.
Yeah, so being able to step away. Yeah, part of it is like I'm always like hunched over. I have a really nice setup, but I still end up kind of frozen in the same place all day.
Yeah.
So walking around and talking, but I'm constantly going back and forth with it. So so I thought I needed something to carry around that I could activate the dictation and stuff, and then being able to like delete and things like that, so that I don't keep coming back to the keyboard. This like has enough buttons to be able to do that.
Yeah,
and they feel natural because it's like a video game where like one of the buttons feels like it should be cancel, and the D-pad like moves things left and right. And, yeah.
So, David, you have the Hollyland Mark II S, or is it, which one is it?
Well, I've had it a couple of years now, so they probably don't even sell it anymore. But it is if you look at it, it's like a nickel-sized transmitter and like a half penny size microphone, and it just clips on your shirt. And then they've got a little USB-C receiver that you just plug into your computer. And it also works with your phone. So like if you want to dictate into your phone or your iPad, it does them all. I bought the cheapest one. They have them that have like the DSLR connections and a whole bunch of other stuff. All I needed was a USB-C receiver and these little microphones. And I use them all the time, and they're really good quality. And for dictation, completely adequate. If you look at Max Sparky videos, a lot of times you'll see just a little tiny black thing under my shirt.
Oh.
And people are like, oh, is that your microphone for the recording? I'm like, no, I have a good microphone for the recording. But I was probably dictating earlier that day, and I forgot it's there. I've washed them 2 or 3 times in the laundry, and they're great.
Wow.
And I really... It wasn't that expensive. I think it was about $100 when I bought them, and it's another one. Like Ian, if they took it away, I'd be like, "Oh, how much is it going to cost me?" Because I want it back.
What are you both of you using on the Mac for the dictation? David, are you doing WhisperFlow directly?
Yeah, I'm a big WhisperFlow fan.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Ian, what are you?
I
dictating?
use Monologue.
Monologue.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have an iOS app too. I don't really use that, but
There's so many now. There's so many because the Whisper model is open source,
Yeah.
so everybody makes their own thing, And
yeah, it's
I
hard.
just-
It's hard to know what the difference is between them all.
but
I
the one-
need to find a use case for this little Nintendo controller thing because I kind of love it. It's only $25.
yeah, I've got one in my bag too, Stephen.
Do
Let's
you?
talk about it next week.
Okay.
What?
Okay. What do you use it for?
I want to copy Ian. I want to do.
Oh,
I want to. I mean that because I do the same thing. I lean over the keyboard. I hit the button in WhisperFlow to open the mic, and then I pace up and down the room and write a newsletter or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd rather be able to control that. And then my wife will walk in and she'll ask me a question in the middle of my newsletter text. It says, "Yeah, I took the trash cans out." And then it's like. So I would like. I'm going to follow the path set by Ian once again.
All right.
So I'm sorry, David, quick question. Your newsletters, you just walk around the room dictating those?
Dude, I was a lawyer for 30 years. I have.
No, I know.
Yeah, I can rip it out pretty fast.
Okay, all right. So your little blog posts and stuff that I get in my emails, those are all dictated.
Nearly 100%. Yeah.
I gotta get on this train.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
and it actually changes the voice of it too. You're
Yeah.
very much more conversational. The posting, like if you read something I write properly, it doesn't read the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get this little $25 controller. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
Maybe this will start getting me to dictate more.
Yeah. The other thing you could do with it though, just think, because with Better Touch Tool, you could map it to anything. You could map it to F19. And then you could make just a killer keyboard maestro script or shortcut launcher or whatever,
Okay.
So-
all right.
Yeah.
All right. And tell us about your. You got a sleep mask on here?
Yeah, the Mantis sleep mask. So this thing is a very nice sleep mask. I like using a sleep mask, but I don't like it touching my eyelids.
Yeah.
Right,
So it's
right.
got these like padded like O's, so it keeps the material from touching your eyes. And then it has Bluetooth speakers built into it.
Wow.
Okay.
So I can fall asleep to a podcast, and you can I sleep on my side, and so this is totally comfortable. It's like flat on the sides, so you can listen to music or whatever as you fall asleep. You do have to charge your sleep mask, but it holds a charge. It's USB-C, which I was pleasantly surprised by. And it's a very high quality sleep mask.
Well,
And
wait a
like
minute, honey. My sleep mask needs a firmware update.
Exactly. So are there speakers on both sides of the mask?
Yeah.
And leaning
yeah.
on, laying on your side, that's not uncomfortable with the speaker there?
No, they're designed to be like that. They're flat, and you can move them left and right if you want it right by your ear or less right on the ear.
It's fancy.
I have this problem. So I have had glaucoma since my 20s.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a thing. We all have things. And but I've been taking the drops for almost 40 years, and
Wow.
the drops give you very thick and luscious eyelashes. The doctor always says, "I know you're taking your medicine. Look at them
Oh my
eyelashes." And supermodels take glaucoma drops because they want those eyelashes. But I have always had a problem with sleep masks because my eyelashes are too long. You know? So, like, I think you just solved a problem for me, Ian.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I got to see how big are these cups. I'm gonna stress them.
I really wish we could title this episode "David the Supermodel."
Yeah, I know.
We have to figure
Well, I
out how
have
to work that
supermodel eyelashes, but that's it. The rest
out.
of
No,
me,
we're just saying
not
it's
gonna
a
work.
model.
I don't even have George Costanza hands. I just got the eyelashes.
That's amazing. That sleep mask is actually tempting, and I'm curious because my two sons, they go to sleep listening to stuff, but they have their AirPods in, and there's been multiple times when an AirPod goes missing.
Yeah.
And if they're on a top bunk, who knows where it might have fallen. So, sleep mask.
Yeah, that's the exact problem. I was using AirPods, and then I'd have to switch ears if I like rolled over the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I left one at an airport or at a hotel and had to go back. So, yeah.
Well, Ian, you always deliver the goods to the Mac Power Use audience. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so
Always
much
good
for having
you
me.
on. Congratulations on your continued success and all the great work you're doing over there. Just think of all the kids that are growing up, and they'll say, "Remember that guy that used to talk
Listening
about
to
the
my
bicycle?"
voice. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All
Yeah,
right.
where can people go to see if they want to learn more about you? And
Yeah, everything's at birdseed.com. Birdseed with a Y, which is my last name. Birdseed.com or birdseed.tv.
all right, very cool. We'll put those links in the show notes as well. Thanks to our sponsor this week, 1Password, Backblaze, Ecamm, and we're going to go record a More Power Users episode. But thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week.